Hello and welcome to Carrie Clark's No-Fluff approach to speech language therapy. I am speech language pathologist Carrie Clark, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my system, my whole approach to how I do speech language therapy, how I teach it, and how our resources fit into this big picture. So it's been a little while since we've done an episode that is kind of my whole encompassing system. And so today's episode is going to show you the big picture. I'll let you peek behind the curtain on how I do speech therapy and all of the systems and processes we use to keep it moving smoothly and streamlined. So welcome if you're new to me. I am Carrie Clark. I am the owner of Speech and Language Kids, and so I am the creator of the SLK curriculum, which is our structured approach. But today we're going to be kind of giving you the even bigger picture of how all of this looks in real life in therapy. So if you are a speech language pathologist or a speech language pathology assistant, or if you are a speech and language therapist in a different country, we welcome you. This is going to go through kind of how to do that job. But this is also great for parents and caregivers and teachers who are looking to maybe just implement a little bit of this into their daily lives and into their teaching and parenting to help support children with communication challenges. I know that I hear from parents constantly that are saying that there is a long wait time to get their child into therapy, or that maybe their child is in therapy and they would like to do some extra helping at home. So hopefully this is a helpful guide to all of you, but we're really going to focus on the no-fluff piece. I know that if you go online and you search for speech therapy, or if you're following any speech therapists on social media, a lot of what we see are these really cutesy, fun activities that look to me like they would probably take 3 hours to prep and plan. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't have time for that or the energy. So my approach is very much, how can we do this with as little extra work as possible, but in a manner that is not only super effective for our clients and our students and our children, but also fun and engaging as well. So there you go. There's my big soapbox. All right. So how do I approach speech language therapy? So I have put this into 6 steps, and this is kind of the order that these things come up when we get a new client. But this is kind of just going to be the way that I'm going to explain my system and my approach. But keep in mind that if you are stepping into a caseload in the middle of a school year or at the beginning of a school year, but it's a new caseload, then maybe you're kind of taking these in a different order, but hopefully this makes the system clear. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to choose up to 3 goals per client. So when I have a client who needs new goals, then I'm going to look at all of their areas of communication, and I'm going to decide which of these areas are being impacted, and then I'm going to pick 3 specific goals that will support them in those areas. So we look at the 6 main areas that I include in my curriculum are speech sounds, so the actual pronunciation of speech, language skills, which includes vocab and syntax and grammar and receptive language and expressive language and all of those pieces. Then we have our social communication. We have fluency, which is like stuttering. And then we have functional communication, which is being able to use words to get our basic wants and needs met. So these are our clients who are working on developing their first words or their first communication efforts. We have voice and resonance as the 6th one. So that's the vocal quality, the sound of our voice, the nasality and resonance there. So those are the 6 areas I look at. And when I'm picking my 3 goals, sometimes I will pick a goal from each of these areas. So if we have a client who is struggling in speech and language and fluency, maybe I'll have a goal in each of those. But more often it's 3 goals that are all related to one area or maybe 2. So maybe we have 1 speech sound goal that we're working on and 2 language skills. Or maybe we have a language skill and then we have a social communication goal. And so up to 3 doesn't mean you have to have 3, but that's generally a sweet spot if you're trying to build a plan for an entire school year or entire calendar year. Working on 3 goals over the course of that year is fairly reasonable without being too overwhelming. So that's where I start. I choose 3 goals. Now for our SLK curriculum, we have basically our curriculum is a giant goal bank, but instead of just being one-off activities and random things and random goal ideas, it is a goal that is packaged into a structured program that gives you everything you need to teach the skills that a client needs to achieve that outcome or master that goal. Because when I look at goals, I'm not just looking at a specific, do they know the difference between a synonym and an antonym? I'm not looking at very specific skills. I'm looking at how that looks in the real world and what skills that they're struggling with. And so if I see that a child has issues with vocabulary, then we're looking at, okay, well, how does that manifest in the classroom? What does that look like in conversation? And we're writing goals that actually have real life functional outcomes that help that child in those daily activities. So our goal bank has a structured program that's going to teach specific skills to get to that goal. And the way that we have it built inside our curriculum, we also have some screening checklists. So if you're not sure where to start, you can grab these checklists. We have, these are great for handing out to parents and teachers to see which skill areas that the child is struggling in. And again, they're all based on real world. What does this look like in the real world? Or we can use these as well to compile the data from our assessment and kind of say, okay, well, they struggled with this on this test and this on this test. And then it gives you one big picture to kind of know where you stand and where that child could use some extra support. So if you're not sure which goals to choose, we have our checklist inside the SLK curriculum. We also have a few interactive assessment tools where you can take a little quiz and it will answer questions, or it will provide recommendations for specific areas to look at. So that's one way. Or if you are coming to me with some clients that are already in process, sometimes what this looks like is just matching their existing goals to one of our goal packets. And so when I stepped in for my caseload takeover and I'm helping out at a rural school, I took each of those clients and I said, okay, here's their goals. What goal packets do I have that line up with those? And those were the ones I grabbed for those kids. So step one then is choosing up to 3 goals per client. And then step 2 is just to grab those goal packets. Like I said, I have spent so long, years here, developing these therapy pathways, which are skill progressions and a set of activities that are all intended to build up to this functional outcome or this goal that we're working towards. And so each of our goals has a packet. Each packet contains 2 parts. So one part is the data probe, which helps you take data on that goal. We'll get to that in a minute. And then the other part is the actual activities and materials that you need to teach the skills necessary for that individual to master the goal. Okay, so I grab the goal packet, I drop the data probe in my data notebook. So I like to have a 3-ring binder with tabs for each child. So each child has their 3 data probes for their 3 goals in that data notebook. And then I take the activities and I just staple those together and drop that into their student folder. So each of my students or my clients has a file folder right there at the door. They're in a box. They're kept nice and neat. We come in, we grab our folder, we sit down at the table, and right in front of us is all the materials we need to work on that skill. And so you'll see that the goal packets actually have multiple activities for multiple specific skills that are all working towards this larger goal. And so we just work through those one at a time. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Step 2 is just print the goal packets. So step 1 was choose 3. Step 2, print them, drop the data probe in the data notebook, drop the therapy activities in the folder. Okay. Step 3 then is we're going to conduct the data probes. So we want to get our baseline data. We want to see where we're starting. So each therapy packet has a probe. It's either a picture or a series of prompts or questions, and you just run them through that probe and collect your data, and that serves as your baseline data. So when we're starting out with a new client or starting out on this process with an old client, we're going to take that baseline data for all 3 goals that we've chosen, or up to 3 that we've chosen. And then we're just going to choose one goal to focus on for the coming month. I think where a lot of us get bogged down is we try to hit every goal every month. And what that does is number one, it overwhelms us, But number two, it overwhelms our clients. They really need things to be streamlined and simplified for them to be able to make progress on skills. And so focusing on one per month allows us to really dig deep, really push hard, and really make some good, meaningful progress on that goal each month. And then over the course of the year, we will hit all 3 goals. Maybe we'll do kind of a cycles approach where we do one goal 1 month and then the next one the next month and the next one after that. Or maybe we stick with one goal until we've mastered it and then we move on. And that will depend on the client, how willing they are to work on something or motivated they are to work on something, how much progress they're making. So we can make that decision as we go along. But you're going to collect your data probes and then say, okay, which one am I going to start on? And that's the one you're going to work on first. So I actually have a monthly planning page that you can download inside the SLK curriculum as well that will allow you to write down that one goal for each child on your caseload so that you have a quick reference sheet so you know who's working on what each month. Okay. Step 4 then is to do the therapy. And the beauty of this system is that this is no prep therapy. You are not spending your evenings cutting and laminating and scouring Teachers Pay Teachers for the next cutesy idea. You are using the materials from those workbooks, from the goal packets, as the teaching material. So the materials that I've created are designed to teach the skills, explicit instruction, and using scaffolding. So we break a skill down into a step-by-step plan. We say, okay, first, teach this step, this very simplified version of the skill, and we practice that over and over and over until they've mastered that, and then we bump up to the next step, and we scaffold them up to the full skill. All of my workbooks are designed that way, so all you have to do, you sit down with the client, open up to the first page, work on that page. You're going to stay on that page or that activity until they have mastered it before moving up to the next step, okay? So that might mean that you're working on that same page of the workbook for a few weeks or a few sessions. If that's the case and they need some extra practice materials, then we have our AI-powered material generators, and those are inside the SLK curriculum. So I like to pop in and have them tell me a topic that they love, and we'll make an image that is about that topic of their interest and includes their target skill. Or we'll make a word list or a reading passage. I'll have it tell me a story about that, and then they can retell the story. We can generate social scenarios for them to practice and role play social skills. Whatever it is we need, we find the AI-powered material generator, and we do that during the session. So you're not spending extra time planning and prepping additional materials, okay? And then we can also just play games, play with toys, have some fidgets on the table, whatever we need to do to keep them engaged and keep it fun. But the idea is we are following a structured plan. We're not just throwing out activities and seeing which ones help. We're saying, okay, first step is this. We're going to work on this till you've got it. And then we're going to move up to the next step, and we're going to work on that. So you use the teaching materials from the workbook, then you use the AI-powered material generators or games or toys to keep it fun while you continue to practice and reinforce that skill until they're ready to move up to the next step. The other key point here when you're doing this therapy is that we are focusing on the therapy, not the data collection. And I know this is contentious because we all love our data and we all need our data. But sometimes we get so into recording data on every single repetition that we are not in the moment with that client, helping them make the progress that we know they can make because we're so focused on the data, okay? So while we are doing our therapy days, we have a daily notes page that you can grab inside the curriculum. And my daily notes page, what I do is I write the date, I write what skill we're working on, and then I will just give them a rating 1 through 5 on how they did that day overall. So I'm not taking data on every repetition. I'm giving them 1 score for the whole session. That allows me to still have some data that I can use to submit my billing or to know how we're doing in therapy, to monitor progress. But I'm not spending so much time on the data that I'm missing out on those key moments where I can grab that, oh, right there, that was it, that aha, and trying to help them get that progress, right? So again, simplified notes on our day-to-day. And that is okay because step 5 is to repeat the data probes once per month. I told you our goal packets have that data probe inside. You did the data probe once at the beginning to get your baseline data. I just repeat those data probes once per month, and that allows me to have really good, full, complete data that I can use for my progress notes, for my billing, for anything that I need where I need to make sure that we are making progress. And then I can use that to see myself where we're making progress, where we need some extra support. So at the end of each month, I repeat all the data probes for all 3 goals for every client, see where we stand, and then I, again, pick one goal that I'm going to target the following month and write it on my monthly planning page. Once I see that the client has met all 3 of those goals, then I have 3 choices. So at that point, we either pick 3 new goals if they're still struggling, or we can move them to a consultation model to ensure that they continue to use those new skills and don't backslide, or we decide as a team that they're ready to be dismissed from services. So that's how we put all of this together into one very streamlined, no-fluff system, and that is my approach to doing therapy. So we have up to 3 goals per client. We just have those goal packets ready for the whole year. It's got all the materials in there, and we just work through at the client's pace, helping them master each step before we move up. We repeat our data probes once per month to make sure we're making progress, and when we get to the end of that, then we either write new goals or we move them through towards either consultation or dismissal. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. And of course, if you would like to jump in and grab any of our goal packets, any of these resources I talked about today, you can go to hub.speechandlanguagekids.com. We do have a 7-day free trial. And then after that, it's only $50 a month or $500 a year to get access to everything. That includes all of our curriculums, all of our goal packets, and our core language program, which is a 16-week oral language intervention. So if you have those clients who are struggling in a lot of areas of language, it will explicitly teach every language skill over the course of 16 weeks for 1 grade level. So that way you can actually kind of bump them up. You can help them get caught up 2 grade levels during 1 school year, since 16 weeks is about half of a school year. So all of that's included. I would love to see you inside. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you on tomorrow's episode of the Speech and Language Kids podcast. Bye for now.